would you want to go out into those woods not knowing what was behind it?
Absolutely not.
I do like snow.
You do like winter.
I do like
snowy, fairy.
Yeah,
places.
no, no, absolutely not is the answer. No, would be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Den of Geek's New York Comic Con coverage. My name is Mary Prescott, and I'm here with the cast and creator of Britbox's Passenger. This is a very interesting take on the traditional British murder village. Andrew, what was your inspiration for creating the world of Chadder Vale and Passenger?
Truthfully, the communities that I grew up with. So I grew up in the north of England in a small place called Bolton, not far from Manchester. And there's a warmth to the people there, similar to Liverpool where Barry's from. You'll know what I'm talking about, and Wunmi obviously, but there's a warmth to the people, there's a wit to them, there's a shorthand to the way they act and speak, there's a close-knit kind of togetherness in the face of adversity. They pull together come what may. No matter how dark or desperate the situation or struggle they find themselves in, they tend to kick back with stories and with wit, and that has always fascinated me. So no matter how high the stakes, they often kick back with humor. So I wanted to create a fictional Northern universe community and puncture it with something obscure and otherworldly that they hadn't come across before.
And how long did it take for you to pitch networks in the UK from you start writing the script to when it finally started filming? How long did that take?
4 or 5 months, something like that. But we took our time with it. We wanted to get it right, But maybe it was about that, I think.
Wunmi and Barry, what attracted you to join Andrew in this journey of mystery and wintertime fear?
Wintertime fear, I like that.
Undulating question, wasn't it?
They're a few of my favourite things. Frankly. I mean, it's always the script and the writing from the mind of Andrew here. It was just a script I hadn't read before. It was a story I hadn't seen before. The words were jumping out. The characters were so clear in my mind from the very first time I read it. I read it really fast and devoured it. And as I said in a number of interviews, I mean, this is something I would be watching if I wasn't doing it. And that's not always the case. And I wanted to be a part of it from the second I read it. It was a no-brainer. I was like, get me in.
And when did you join the project?
I saw Andy when he was working on the script with Jane. We were just talking about what he was writing, what I was writing, what we talked about life and the themes that were running through our own lives. And Andy was like, actually, the thing I'm writing, maybe I've been writing it for you. Maybe I'm writing it for you. And then he sent me the script, and then I read it. And reading scripts is not actually very easy for me, even though I do it every day for work, because I'm dyslexic. And I read it so fast. The dialogue just zinged, and it felt like a real treasure, because you don't always get scripts where you can get scripts where the story's good, but the dialogue's really not easy. And this felt like everything was just right. Like, it was a joy to say the words. It was a joy to read the script out loud. I was on board from then.
I'm actually curious, Andrew, was there a point where you wanted to actually act in Passenger, or
no,
you just
wasn't a vehicle for me. But I'm just thinking about that was possibly a slightly cringy thing for Wunmi to have to say that, in the sense that, she was like, well, Andy just really wanted me, or so, but it's probably easier for me to say, because Wunmi's a wonderful, a mesmeric actress, and I've known her since drama school and have seen her in a number of productions, television, theatre, and there was, I don't think Wunmi would mind me saying, I think I've said it in the past, but there was one particular theatre show. It was upstairs at the Royal Court. She was phenomenal, but it was a smaller part than I would have liked to have seen. I was like, she should be front and centre. And so I wanted to craft a role for her that would put her front and centre and give us something hopefully quite raw and challenging to do. But yes, we chased Wunmi.
Barry and Wunmi, I want you to introduce your characters. What are they facing the first 2 episodes? This, again, it's cold, it's dark, strange things happening in Chadder Vale. Where do we find your characters at the beginning of the story?
So I play Riya Ajunwa, and she's a police officer. She's from Manchester, which is a city in the north, a big city in the north, the big city in the north, I should say.
God. God.
Tension.
Oh, shipping canals here. Brave talk. Go on, anyway. One of the biggest cities in the northwest. Go on, carry on.
And then she was a police officer in the Met in London, and she moves up to Chadder Vale with her now ex-husband. And so you meet her, it's 5 years later. She's actually 5 years before, put Eddie, Barry's character, in prison. And she's kind of come in like this kind of bigwig. Like, she's like, I'm from the Met, and I'm in this tiny little town, and I know what I'm doing, and why am I... She's kind of frustrated because she feels like she's bigger. She's a big fish in a small pond. You know, the big question was like, why is she still here? Mm-hmm. Why is she still here in Chadder? Because there's so much frustration and defensiveness and like aggravation with the town and the people, and how they're not willing to kind of dig deeper and look behind the veil. And I really feel like the reason why is because she's actually scared. And like, I think fear is a really big theme throughout the show. And like, I think it's her fear of looking inwards is far greater than her fear of looking outwards. And so she is lost, scared, lonely, needs a bit of love, a little bit brittle, fragile, but she hides it behind all this like bravado and sarcasm.
Now, Barry, your character off the bat seems like the obvious villain, but clearly something else is going on there. And what is motivating your character's journey at the beginning of the series?
Well, it was interesting what was just said there about fear. You know, what intrigued me about Eddie, or at least how I interpreted him and kind of created the way he was looking in this, was, you know, he's very visible. Obviously, he's a big fella. He's the place eyes go to when things go untoward in this town. But you know, he's also hiding behind all these tattoos, and he's hiding behind his hair, and he's hiding behind his clothes, and he's not able to voice exactly who he is. And I think that's what, you know, if you're called a certain thing for long enough, if fingers point and say you're the monster, you start to wear the mask that you're given by the community. And fortunately, throughout, you know, the series, we get to peel that mask back and see what this man actually is underneath. And it's a beautiful study in how much people can take and keep walking forward before they crumble into a heap, you know. And yeah, it's such a brilliant role. He's a bad man.
Now, I'm curious, for all of you, would you want to go out into those woods not knowing what was behind it?
Absolutely not.
I do like snow.
You do like winter.
I do like
snowy, fairy.
Yeah,
places.
no, no, absolutely not is the answer. No, it'd be
Andrew, would you want to go out in those woods? I mean,
I'll have a go.
One of us has got to go. So.
One of us.
Now,
You created it, you did.
I heard passengers sought in winter, but was that the original plan, or you just wanted to have, or did you want to have another way of building suspense, not just the weird weather and the weird patterns of life in the village?
Yeah, I had the idea for snow at the start, which the execs did a huge intake of breath at, because it's not cheap, I don't think. But like, I was like, yeah, maybe see it's snowing. And they were like, okay. But as the series unfurls, there are little clues, little breadcrumbs we've planted along the way as to why that snow is there and what it's there to serve. And it's all part of one overarching question, I guess. But yes, it certainly provides a kind of cinematic backdrop, I think, at the start.
Wunmi and Barry, your characters are sort of battling it out for who's really going to, you know, shape the narrative of Chadder. Was there ever a point where you thought that the ending and the final part of your journey would be different than the beginning?
One of the best things about episodic television is you know, you allow yourself to live it as the script comes to you. So I didn't decide in my mind where Eddie was going to go. I waited for the journey to be unfolded in front of me, and then, you know, found a way to perform that. So in that sense, no. But I was pleasantly surprised with where Eddie ended compared to where we picked up his story, yeah, in a huge way. Very, very satisfying and very, very proud of it.
Yeah, I feel like Barry said, we had read episodes 1 and 2, I think, before we started filming, and then the other episodes came as we went on. And yeah, I knew like a gist of what might happen, but I was pleasantly surprised as we got the story development and the character development. Like, everyone just kind of opens up. And what I really love about the script is that every single person, every single thing that is there's any kind of focus on in the story has its own journey, or their own journey. And I love that, because nothing is superfluous. Everything and everyone has a purpose in the story.
A lot of what happens in Passenger is not necessarily driven by the adults in the town. There are a lot of teens and young adults in the town as well. And I'm curious about your relationship with those actors and how you have found working with them to create this air of mystery that's not quite what you would expect.
You know, my 2 daughters, Matilda and Rowan, just absolutely incredible actors. Just throwing stuff out all the time. There's a fearlessness to acting at that age that I love working with. You know, they don't tend to prep. They just turn up and like throw shit at you, and you go with it. And I that's where I thrive anyway. So, that made me really happy. And yeah, I think the whole, all throughout the cast of those young adults who have been playing in it, really well cast. Really, you know, across the board, the cast is just beautiful. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love working with young actors or young directors, new directors, and I think it's really important because their hunger they're ravenous. It's infectious, actually. It reminds you that this is a really special thing that we do, and not to take it for granted. And so I really love I actually really kind of look out for newbies on the block, because I want to be around them. I want to rub shoulders with them and get their energy.
I'm curious about the casting process for all of the entire cast, not just Wunmi and Barry. How did that go?
Years ago, I did a show called Party Animals. It was about 20 years ago. And I'll never forget sitting down with the director on day 1 and going, before we did the read-through, was like, by the way, first choice, all of you, first choice. None of you were. And it's the first time I was introduced to that phrase. I was like, okay, all right, what does he mean? It's only as the years have unfolded since then, I'm like, oh God, am I 5th choice? Or exactly, yeah. This has a flavour of 5th choice about it. But hand on heart, there's a reason why I mentioned that. Not just saying because they're in the room, but the 2 people sitting next to me, extremely lucky and fortunate to have got these people on board. That goes for the whole cast. I mean, they gave it their all. I hate the phrase 110% because it doesn't mean anything, but you know what I'm saying. They gave it and then some, and I'm forever in their debt for that.
Thank you. My final question to all of you is, what can fans expect from the remaining episodes of the season?
Musical? It's very musical, isn't it?
What I love about this show is this feeling of like the unnatural. It's something, everything feels familiar and regular, but there's something bubbling under the surface, and it's like super unnatural. I hope that people feel that kind of pit in their stomach and asking that question, like, what is up with this town? Like, I need to know.
Yeah, on the macro, I think it leads into that idea that we all feel that something in general is going on that shouldn't be going on to the left and the right of us, but we're told by most people to just keep walking forward and ignore it, and eventually someone will either deal with it or it'll go away. And with this show, I would advise you to fucking have a look, you know.
Yeah. I think Barry and Wunmi hit the nail on the head before, which is it is a show that's ostensibly about fear and how we keep pinning fear on the wrong people or the wrong things. And oftentimes it's either born out of something that we ourselves are afraid of, or we're looking in the wrong place.
That is a perfect way to end this interview. Thank you all so much for coming here, and Fans, check out Passenger on Britbox. Check it out, fans. Thank you.